Welcome to the NCMST video training series. In this episode, we're going to take a look at completing the user setup in less than 20 minutes. Prerequisites for completing this series are NCMST completely installed on your system, your key information for your RMT, your billet, your command, and your reporting lines, and of course, about 20 minutes to spend. Okay, so in this video, we've downloaded NCMST. We've installed it in the previous two videos. Now we're going to start using NCMST by completely setting up our system as a user. So user setup is a critical portion of NCMST. Keep in mind that NCMST is a user-driven system. It needs to know enough about you and the billet that you're in, the RMT that you're attached to, who your reporting lines are, in order to make sure that the program works properly for you. Now we're going to start with user setup. Some things I want you to know right off the bat are the names, addresses, email addresses that I use in my examples here are all fake. I'm changing them to protect the innocent from getting spammed because this video will be available on the internet. So we're going to start with user setup, and when we click on user setup, I want you to notice that NCMST sends us this large ugly warning about our PRD being expired. Now for NCMST, your projected rotation date is everything. It bases its security off of it, its encryption off of that, whether or not you have access to certain files. So you need to make sure not only is your PRD up to date, but you need to understand that when you first installed NCMST, you haven't completed that information, so of course you're going to see this message. So when you see this message, don't worry if you haven't, if this is your first time setting up the program, don't worry, we're just going to click on OK, and we're going to begin setting up this system for NCMST. I'm going to let you know also right off the bat that it's not going to take 3 hours. It's not going to take all day. If you have the information that I point out to you that you need to know beforehand, you can have your system set up in less than 10 minutes. So a couple of things I want you to know right off the bat is what the installation program placed into NCMST as my username. Here it says NCMST Tech Support. Where did it come up with that? Well, it looks back at my Outlook, and whatever my username is in my Outlook, it populates it during the installation into your username field. Now you'll notice when you start your user setup that it could say Microsoft Exchange, it could have your email, or it could just say NMCI. We're going to change this information, so it's really not that important. The second thing I want you to notice is over here where it says percentage of completion, it says 3%. So that's because we just have the username filled in. We're going to change the username. I'm going to place my name in there. I'm going to select my rank and whether I'm a chaplain or RP. I'm going to select my date of rank, and that's public knowledge, so I'm not worried about putting that information out there. Once I select the date and the year, you'll notice that that information is populated toward the bottom of the calendar. If you don't see a date at the bottom of your calendar, you didn't do it quite right. Just make sure you've clicked on the date. Once you see your date there, select Insert Date. That calendar is the same calendar through all of NCMST. Select my years of service. I'm prior enlisted, so make sure my years of service are right. I'm going to select my faith group, my endorser, and down here in the frame that says special considerations, if you are restricted to your own faith group when it comes to things like rites and sacraments and so forth, you need to check that. And it's asking if I've attended the NCMST training. Now that information isn't required, but it sure is helpful for us back here at Tech Support to know. So I'm going to type in my military email address, and I'm not going to use my real one if you don't mind. Okay, and my phone number. Again, I'm not going to use my real one. Complete my mailing address. Now, you could use your command mailing address, but since this information is used for your emergency recall, in your business rules, it may say use your home address. The only folks that see this are folks that are in your RMT, such as your command chaplain or another RP. So let's say that I live in anywhere Virginia. Oh, let me go back up here. Anywhere Virginia, find Virginia. There we are. I'm going to give it a zip code, which is a bogus zip code as well. Now, once I've completed my city and my state, and it's really basically my state, I need to select my BAH city. And these are the choices for Virginia. I'm going to select the Norfolk area. Now, down in emergency recall information, it's asking for a civilian email address and a phone. Now, I want you to notice that these labels, civ email, civ phone, are bold. Compare that to like address to, which isn't bold. If you see something that's bold in a label, that means NCMST is requiring that information. So I'm going to type in my civilian email address. Of course, this is going to be bogus as well. And a cell phone number. Now, once I have this information, this is the only required information on the User Setup tab. I'm going to click on Save Changes. Now, it's important that as you change information on each tab and you are presented with the Save Changes command button, that before you leave that tab, you save that information. Now, I want you to notice what happens when I click Save Changes. My percentage changes. Now I'm up to 31%. I move over to Primary Command. I select my branch and my duty type. I select my base and facility. And let's just type in here, I'm going to say OpNav here. Now, chaplains, if you're filling this out, you can use the alpha roster list to select where your orders have assigned you. Once you select where your orders have assigned you and click on Use and Return, that information will populate both in Command and UIC. I'm going to leave that right there just as an example. RPs, we're working on that same type of capability for you. In the meantime, you can just simply type in whatever information it is. So whatever the command is, you can type that information in here too. And don't forget to type in your title, whether it's staff chaplain, senior RP, LPO, LCPO, command chaplain, whatever that is. You can take a look at your orders to know what your UIC and your billet sequence code is. It's important that you fill in billet sequence code. If you can't find it on your orders, you can always check with your one-shop. And a PRD. So I'm going to type in my PRD here. It's my PRD. And it's asking me for my commanding officer, my executive officer, and my command master chief. Now, if I would have selected Marine Corps, this here would change to Command Sergeant Major. So again, I'm just going to type in some bogus information here. And for executive officer, that's a terrible spelling for Bly. There we go. And Command Master Chief. And I can't think of a better term for Master Chief other than Master Chief, so just leave it right there. Again, those are just for our examples here. Now, before I leave this tab, I need to hit Save Changes. I click on Save Changes, and now I'm up to 64%. On the Command Organization tab, there are only 3 areas that you need to fill in. That's primary location, secondary location, tertiary location. Now, where I work, we divide things out into departments, division, and work center. You can fill in your own, whether that's department, division, work center, wing, group, squadron, however you want to lay it out, that's fine. The rest of this information that's on this screen will be completed by NCMST as you use NCMST. So before I leave this tab, I need to save changes. I go to 72%. Now I'm going to move over to Command Organization Detail just to show you something. When I click on this tab, notice my percentage of completion doesn't appear. Notice here in Command Organization it was there. On Command Organization Detail it's not. That's NCMST's way of telling you that this tab is not required for you to fill out in order to get to 100%. This information that's on this tab will be completed by NCMST as you use NCMST. So we're at 72% complete, and you may be saying, what else do I need to do in order to get to 100%? So if you click on where it says 72% complete, if you click on that label, NCMST will present you a list of the things that you're missing in order to achieve 100% setup. So we're only missing 11 more things. That may seem like a lot, but I promise you it's going to go by very quickly. So we move over to user data metrics. Notice our percentage of completion is there. So there is information in this tab that we need to complete. For chaplains, those 2 pieces of information are Step 1 and Step 2. Number of work hours in a normal work week. I'm going to type in 40. Now this is a key important part of NCMST. I know all of us work more than 40 hours, right? Sure you do. But what we're asking for here is at the billet that you're assigned in your normal work week, how many hours does the command expect you to show up? And you can take a look at your leave time frame to know that that's probably 40 hours. NCMST will keep track of the fact that you work 50, 60, 70, or whatever number of hours. But unless you're on deployment, your normal hours in a number of hours in a normal work week are most likely going to be 40 hours. Step 2 chaplains is the amount of time that you spend in an average counseling session. So if you say, well, I spend about a half an hour in an average counseling session, that's going to be 0.5. If you say, well, I spend 3/4 of an hour, that's 0.75. If you say, well, I spend an hour, that's just 1. So those are the 2 key parts that we need to fill out. So once I've filled out those 2 parts, I can hit Save Changes. Now I'm at 74% complete. Before we move on, I want to show you how to use a list out your weekly obligations. This isn't required for setup, but it is important to know, because NCMST wants to try to figure out how at your current billet, how your obligations weigh upon you. So, for example, let's say once a week that you have a staff meeting, and that staff meeting lasts an hour, but it takes you about 30 minutes of prep and getting to the meeting and leaving the meeting. So for that one staff meeting consumes an hour and a half of your week. So we're going to type in staff meeting, the number of hours it consumes in a week, press enter. Now notice the staff meeting has shown up in your obligation list, reducing your capacity. Now this is a very important manpower metric, so I encourage you to sit down, think about your obligations, and list those out, keeping in mind that they're weekly obligations. So if you want to, and you should, include times like your PT time and your lunch time, multiply by 5 how much time it takes up in a day. and you'll have that obligation for the week. Don't forget to save changes for that tab. And we're going to move on to the RMT Organization tab. Now the RMT Organization tab has 3 sub-tabs. The only one that we're interested in is the middle one that says Important Chaplain Corps Contact Information. And we're only interested in this one for right now. The other ones will come in play later. Now there's a couple of things I want to point out to you immediately. This tab tells NCMST who is authorized to send you data calls and who you are authorized to send data responses or data pushes or roll-ups to. And initially we're giving you space for 5 groups of people. Now notice the labels here: immediate higher echelon chaplain, command chaplain, senior RP, additional reporting. Those are only guidelines. I need to say that again. Those are just guidelines. You do not have to type in your immediate higher echelon chaplain here. And you can put your RP here if you want, and your immediate higher echelon chaplain here. None of the positioning means nothing to NCMST, and the labels really mean nothing. The only important thing that you need to know is you are telling NCMST who you can send data calls to and who is authorized to ask you directly for a data call. So this is where you need to sit down beforehand and gather this information together. One of the things I recommend when you first set up NCMST, if you don't know this information, is to check the boxes that say none. Now everybody has at least one boss, okay? And put that information where it says immediate higher echelon chaplain. Now keep in mind, everything that I've just said to you has to be taken into context with your own domain's business rules. So my immediate higher echelon chaplain is, let's say, Don White. And I'm going to type in an email address for him, which is a bogus email address. Now when I leave this field, NCMST is going to notify me that I've changed the name of the person that's in the higher echelon chaplain position, and that a registration email should be sent to this chaplain. And that's fine. You can just say OK for right now, but don't click on connect yet. Until we're done with the user setup, we're not going to try to do any connections. Now down in the NCMST support team member, you should have a local NCMST support team member. Type in the name of whoever that person is, okay? And type in their email address as well. If you don't know who they are, you can contact us at ncmstsupport.com, and we will give you who should be your NCMST support team member. I'll fill this in any second. Here we go. Once I've completed that page, I'm going to hit Save Changes. Again, it gives me a notification that I've changed the name of my support team member, that I should send a registration email to that person. We do that by clicking on the Connect button. In order to send registration emails, we do that by connecting with the Connect button. Don't do that quite yet, not until you've completely set up NCMST. So we're going to hit Save Changes. It tells me I'm at 95% complete. Chaplains, you're going to see that message. Basically what it wants you to do is to go back over to the User Setup tab and verify your faith group and your endorser. Because once I move over there, it'll reread that. Now it tells me 100% complete. And friends, we've done that in less than 19 minutes with me explaining each of the fields to you. Now, some good news is this. As you upgrade NCMST, you will not have to go back into User Setup and set this information up again. Unless this information changes, or unless you're told to make changes to certain fields like under RMT Organization, who you report to, there's no need to go back in here and change any information. So we're at 100% completion in less than, like I said, less than 19 minutes. Now, chaplains, there's one more step I'd like you to do, and that's move over to the privacy code information. And in the privacy code, I'd like you to type in a alphanumeric or just a keyword that you can remember. And you only need to type it in twice, so you only need to remember it twice. So type it once in the white text box field, then move down into the red one to confirm it. And what happens once you do this is NCMST will begin to prepare your system for extra privacy. Just takes a few steps. Since I don't have any records actually stored in NCMST yet, it goes by very quickly. Now, full privacy is enabled. All of your PII information will now be encrypted. All right, so that's the user setup for NCMST. Keep in mind the key walkaways for this is that you do not have to go back through this every time you upgrade NCMST. Upgrading NCMST is a very simple process in which you only download the NCMST engine file. It's separate from all your data file. And so we'll talk about that in a future video. So for right now, you can just select the red X to exit user setup. And NCMST is at 100% completion. And now I'm able to go in and begin using NCMST as I should. Okay? Take care. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching this video. For more information, email support@ncmstsupport.com or visit us at ncmstsupport.com. To ensure that you get an automated notice of new videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/chaplainmetrics. Thank you very much.